So Old Western culture is a capturing. I remember from producing, there were times where we knew the books we were going to cover, but that was it. We knew you were going to talk about Livy today, and so there was it's the only curriculum we produced where we felt we were truly capturing a performance in a sense. So in other words, every time you teach the great books, it's a little bit different. So the Old Western culture is in one sense a performance, a capturing of a telling of the great books. You just released Homer's Iliad, the first part of it, which is the essential Iliad. And in the foreword by Dr. Grote, he actually talks about that word kleos, glory, in the Iliad, which most people translate as glory, but he refers to it as the importance of it's not simply the glory, but the telling of the story, the telling of the glory as being important. I felt that was so appropriate for him to write that in your forward. And of course, he then says that you are a great storyteller. But the telling of a story is so important. We feel at Roman Roads, we do this with all of our curriculum. We have always built it around a master teacher. And I've realized recently, it wasn't just someone who knew his stuff, who knew his information, but it's someone who knew their subject, in your case, of course, the great books, that what we ended up producing was a story about it. It was a storytelling. And so real real teaching ends up being a kind of storytelling, and we try to produce curriculum that is that story. Do you agree? That's
absolutely,
This has been a recent realization for me.
Absolutely, well, and this is tied to what we were saying about teaching from notes earlier. The idea of something being preserved, glory or fame being preserved in writing, being encapsulated, put down in writing. There, phew, it's safe. Let's put it on the shelf.
Right.
That thought would be entirely foreign to the ancient mind. And so for them, glory is a living thing. It's fame, reputation. It's knowledge about a great hero in the case of the epics, living because it continues to be retold. It's not stuck, fossilized in a written form, although it can be written down. But it's not. But that's not the essential thing. The essential thing is stories that are being retold by living generations, one after another, down through history. And so when in Homer, for example, in both the Iliad and the Odyssey, there are mentions of poets or of bards who have been punished by the gods by having their memory taken away, their inability to remember the stories and to tell them. And to have your memory taken away is to have taken away from you the ability to pass on to other people who can pass on to other people. It breaks the link. It breaks the chain. The story stops. And when a storyteller tells a story, the storyteller is not just passing on the story they received, but they're incarnating it. They're embodying it. And so the story is still the story, but it takes new life because it's being spoken. It's the spoken word.
Right.
And it's interacting. There's an interaction between the body of the teller and the body of the audience, and there's a personal relationship between the teller and the audience. There's no personal relationship between a book and an audience, although some of us do feel that way. But there's a real relationship between you and I when we talk. And if I tell you a story, then the story not only lives because it's a good story, but it lives because you and I know each other, and I know how to tell the story to you and how you need to hear it, and you know how to ask the questions about it and so on. And likewise, if you tell me things, because you know me, the story has a life that it could never have if you just handed me a piece of paper.